Section 8.8 is the last section we're covering in Chapter 8, and we're also going to split it into a couple of days. And this section is titled Writing Linear Equations. So for our objectives, we want to be able to write linear equations given the slope and the y-intercept, and we also want to be able to write linear equations given the slope and a point on the line. So let's first look at a couple of examples. Let's write the equation in slope-intercept form, and let's remember what that was from section 8.7. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So for number 1, we're told the slope is 1/2 and that b is -5. Remember that b is our y-intercept. This is basically the reverse or the opposite of what we had done in section 8.7. In 8.7, we were given the equation and asked to pluck out these two pieces of information. Now we're given the two pieces of information and asked to write the equation. So remember that the 1/2 goes in front of the x, and the -5 will go in the back. So we'll have y equals 1/2 x minus 5. Remember, we bring that sign with us. So this is slope-intercept form given the slope 1/2 and a y-intercept of -5. Number 2, we have the slope is -2 and the y-intercept is +3. So we write y equals -2x, putting the slope in front of the x, notice up here where m is, plus 3 for our y-intercept. So we have y equals -2x plus 3. A couple more examples. Again, we're writing in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Also remember that y and x are the variables, so when we write the equation, we're going to leave y as y and x as x. You'll never plug anything in for those when you're writing the equation. So here we're told in number 3 that the slope is 0 and that the y-intercept is a -3/5. So we have y equals, slope goes in front of the x, 0x, y-intercept goes in the back, -3/5. And you may recognize that anything times 0 is just 0. So this becomes y equals -3/5. Basically, the x term here goes away. Number 4, be a little careful here because they're given to us in a different order, but we have the y-intercept is 0 and the slope is -1. So y equals -1x. Y-intercept is 0, so that goes in the back, plus 0. And a couple of different things you can do here to kind of clean this up. Remember, we don't have to write the 1, so we could just say y equals -x. We do need that negative sign. We need to know that the slope is negative, but we don't need to write the 1. We also don't have to write the 0 in the back, so we could just leave it as y equals -x. The second half of this lesson is all about point-slope form. So this is a new vocabulary term, and I would like you to write this down. But point-slope form is an equation that's in the form y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1, where m is still your slope, and x1, y1 is a point on the line. So if we look at the graph, you can see that the y-intercept here is at +1, and we can name that point 0, 1. It's been named here. So 0, 1 is a point on that line. We also have another point, a second point, here at 1, 3, and we're using that to help us find the slope. Remember, slope is rise over run, so we're going up 2 and over 1. Similar to the last slideshow, I put the 2 over here on this side just so that it wasn't in the way of all these other numbers and dashes. But so the slope here is 2 over 1. So when you're writing an equation in point-slope form, again, what do we need? We need point and slope. So notice that the slope was 2 over 1, or 2. So we put 2 in for m. And the ordered pair 0, 1. Where the 0, the x-coordinate, goes in the parentheses with the x. It goes in for x1. And the y-coordinate of the point on the line goes in for y1 up in the front by the y. One thing I want you to pay attention to here is to be very careful with your signs when we're working with point-slope form. The formula itself is a subtraction sign, But notice that the number 1 is positive. It makes it look like it's a -1, but that's because of the subtraction sign in the formula. So it's y minus +1 equals 2 times the quantity of x minus 0. So we've written the equation for this line in point-slope form. So let's write the linear equation in point-slope form given the slope and a point on the line. So we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Remember, slope goes in for m, and the ordered pair goes in for x1 and y1. So we have y minus 2. If you want to label the ordered pair x1, y1 to help you remember which part of the ordered pair, which coordinate goes where, that's fine, equals -3/4 times x minus 6. Again, it is a positive 6, but the formula has a subtraction sign in it, so it's x minus +6. And that's all we have to do. Let's try number 6. We have a slope of 3/8 and an ordered pair of -2, 0. So again, if you want to label x1, y1, so we have y minus 0 equals, plugging in the slope, 3/8 x. Now this is where we do need to be careful. This is a -2, so minus a -2. But we don't want to leave it like that, and I put it in parentheses so I could take the parentheses off. That looks funny. We don't write it like that, so we need to change it to adding the opposite. So this becomes y minus 0 equals 3/8 times x plus 2. Now it's making that 2 look positive, but it's because we were subtracting a -2. So really watch your signs there when we're working with point-slope form. 2 more examples if you'd like to pause the video and try to write this one on your own. Point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So for number 7, again we have x1, y1. We would have y minus 4 equals -1 times the quantity of x plus 3. Pay attention to where that +3 comes from. Remember, it's x minus a -3, and minus a negative means addition. Hopefully you got that one right, and if you didn't, you can see where you went wrong. On number 8, we have x1, y1. So we have y plus 7 equals 0 for slope times x plus 2. Both of these coordinates are negative, so in both cases we're subtracting a negative, which is why it becomes positive. So if we go back to the objectives, could you write linear equations given slope and y-intercept? And that's when we used slope-intercept form. Examples 1 through 4. And can you write linear equations now given the slope and a point on the line? This is where we used point-slope form. This is probably the first time you've been introduced to point-slope form, but notice the names of the lines and the information obtained in them. So for this first objective, we used slope-intercept form. Slope, M, intercept, B. For the second objective, we used point-slope form. Notice that it contains the slope and a point, x1, y1, on the line. So the names of the equations give away the pieces of information you can obtain from them. And we'll work on worksheet 8.8a in class.